We've got a lot of teams expecting to do really well here and hoping to see potentially IA and even other squads like Blacklist International. And we'll see who's going to be taking the last win of the day.
Same path, not too bad. It's a little bit up north, so I'm curious now what I8 are going to do in terms of their drop spot. They said they stick to military base. Where will they drop though? Because BTR like to go to farm. We had a team that like to go to Milta. Milta Power tends to be occupied. So in terms of grabbing a vehicle and making your way into the base, especially with Fnatic Zombies, they like to go to Novo. I'm not saying they're going to go there, but my point is it's going to be quite heavily contested however they choose to drop.
Of course, other than the playing path, you can see some stats on the right of our player ranking so far, and with over 4,000 damage, it's still going to be Martin and Concept over there in second place so far. So it seemed like the performance of yesterday allowed them to remain in that position. Other than that, Liquid, Tyra, and Frankie have always remained also in the top 5 players. They've only swapped positions. I think at the start of the day, Tyra was maybe 5th, or maybe it was before last game, and they just quickly and surely been changing all over the place. But Liquid has been able to remain and retain on that 3rd position for the longest time now.
Oh boy, so we do have a couple of shifts in drop spots for a few of these teams. I8 are going to Prison. The Pubg is occupied by Fnatic Zombies and, of course, Myths. Myths not expecting that. And I think Fnatic Zombies recognize that Myths are not a team that like to fight, right? So why not look to bully them in their drop spot? It's close to the playing path. It's also well within the circle. Good decision making from Fnatic Zombies.
Yeah, they really want to go aggressive, it seems, and I'm loving it from Fnatic Zombies. They've truly turned a new leaf, and I'm loving every single second of it. Though, they're not taking the easiest fight from time to time, but this one dropping on top of Myth when they're fully not prepared for this fight, and they are, we said it last game, right? They're a passive team, and seems like the game plan of Fnatic Zombies is we see where Myth drop, we drop on them, we try and kill them, we get 4 kills right off the bat, and then we have a way better chance of climbing high up in this event.
Exactly.
So I'm happy with it, but now you're looking at Myth. Should they change their drop spot?
Nah, because I think this is just an exception to the play path more than anything. Stepping on up, it's a nice knock by Brody. Pro down, you always got to be aware of the snakes in the grass. Abood, and there was no need for him to go up there on his own. That kill will most likely be confirmed. Abood is trying to hide behind the trees. There's smoke being placed out.
What a knock.
Brody with a lovely knock.
I'm telling you, Brody's been impressing me from this side. Definitely the most aggressive player of the bunch. Mexico trying to still make over to Abood, stop that flush from actually coming out. Can you get the triple Brody? Switches over to the AKM now. Salam is still over there in the distance trying to go for the Bloom shot. He's still got himself a tier 3 helmet. If he gets a headshot, that's going to be able to soak up a lot of extra damage output. But nades, unfortunately, this losing stage has ended very quickly and abruptly, so they're definitely going to be very low on their count of utility. Nades, mollies, flashbangs, grenades, they're going to be lacking those because a grenade hail to Salam would make this fight so damn easy.
Yeah, but Myths can't push more aggressively because they just haven't really got the meds. But great play by Ramsey, who does find another of the Zombies players.
So Sem actually went for the wide spread. He went for a little bit of a wider angle and actually trying to wrap around. Broly, though, you're extremely low. And he's just sending it really weirdly, but he's creating another angle for his team. And then Broly's there with also a Sem, and they're able to get himself the frags, and Ramsey's going to be the one to actually find closure.
Yeah.
Only Flex actually goes out of the game, so impressive stuff, but also I got to say, Fnatic Zombies pushing in really weird fashion, I would say.
Yeah, it all started with that Abood solo push, right? You know, you have a team dropping on you, yeah, you get the first kill, but you don't presume you've won the whole fight off the back of that, so very interesting indeed. This phase 1 circle is quite tricky because it's very heavily on the southwestern side of the map. It's enough to put pressure on teams to maybe make a decision on possibly going to Military Island, and it's also so heavily down the southwest enough that it really you know, eliminates a good bit of the landmass that is available for teams to control. IA did pick up an early kill, by the way, onto one of the Yala players. It just essentially catch him out on what was a split drop from Yala, unexpectedly, you know, essentially not expecting IA to be there. Yeah, it was it. Oh yeah, it was it. Yeah, it was.
I'm sorry. It always seems he's the one.
Lord.
It's always him.
He's a chosen one, man. He's a chosen one.
I think there's a situation where you don't want to be the chosen one specifically, but hey, man, you do you, whatever rocks your boat. But they're gonna have to move out. Bandow's gonna be a little bit split away from the rest of their team, so hopefully he can get back to Powerful and Jamaz. And he's close to the coastal line. There's a lot of water in play, about I would say 20%, 25%. So if you play on the coastal line, you should be relatively safe. But do you think it would be okay actually to go for Military Island here? Like I would like to see a team maybe like Reject or even Geekfam if they want to pick up a boat and wrap around. Hey, why not?
Yeah, I think it would be a pretty solid rotation to pull off in phase 1. I don't think you need to commit to the island on phase 1 in terms of go there, and if phase 2 shifts heavily up north, you can then go back around the bridge that you came from. Just depends on if they really have the wherewithal to pull that off. I did like the rotation from Yala, by the way, and where they've chosen to go south of kind of mini Milta. It's that really beautiful open high ground where you're able to get information on a team that's in Milta, which in this case is DS Gaming, and of course you're covering to the north side of you. So I really like that by Yala, you know, not slowing down as a 3-man team and still holding on to a strong position inside the circle.
Yeah, a little of a 2-on spread too, so just be careful if team gets close. Hopefully, and they all have cars right now, so if they do have a team slowly working in their personal space, then they could very easily regroup and avoid the fight altogether. BTR also going to be moving away from farm. They're very familiar with this position. They're a team that typically likes to play edge, but when the circle comes their way, they just lean into it and they're just like, okay, the circle comes our way, let's play edge. Sorry, let's play center. I'm so used to seeing them play edge, I can't even say it, but no, they're playing center this time. Onto the southern side of farm, and DS are currently very spread between Milta and the eastern bridge.
Yeah.
Be careful, BTR could capitalize on that.
I don't like that 2-2 split from DS. I just think it's too risky. If it was on maybe the western bridge, it would make sense because it's more on the edge of the circle. Teams are less likely to be converged around you, but you are making a massive split for just the sake of it, where you are right now on that eastern bridge. A1 don't really yet to move away from where they dropped, and I'm a little bit surprised about that. I thought they would have opted to go for a little bit of a deeper position inside this phase 1. They're going to have to deal with the Xavier, Geekfam, Zeus, all kind of going on a similar path line, just slightly south of Pachinki Hill, and they're not even up as a full squad, so very surprised at A1's position for the time being.
I'm actually not too surprised because they typically drop here on a regular basis, but it's very spread, and then they regroup down to a 2-2. It is a different circle. I completely get that, right? But it's just they do typically play like this, and they do tend to regroup sometimes. But when you have the circle, and that's exactly what you mentioned, and that's the one thing that changes the entire perspective of this game for them, is a lot of teams are going to be entering, or at least attempting to enter through the west, and that's why this spread hurts them a bit, because you got, what is it, the Zeus, Geekfam, and also the Xavier. That spread does not make sense because of you being on the edge of the circle, and there's a big chance that teams are going to be entering through that spot.
Seems like they joined up as a full squad, but they're probably not ready to fight for the time being. Navi are still in the blue, and they're still in North George. It's something that Navi tend to do when that kind of phase 1 is so heavily away from North George, and I do like it. Again, you need to consider the consequences of the fact that they're going to have a lack of information. Reject Scarlet still moving in from Poborsk. Going to take their time. Will they opt to go across that western bridge into Military Island like we kind of brought into the mix when we were talking about it? Blacklist still staying quiet. We do see that phase 2. Quite nice because it does center still up to northeast, but again, because it's northeast, it really does eliminate the risk of it ending in Military Island.
Yeah, it just takes away your decision making. You don't have to make a choice like, oh, which one do we go for? No, you just have to commit to the mainland. You just go for that spot and you'll be okay. So that's great. At least it takes the extra risk factor away and out of the equation for a lot of these teams. No more X in the equation. So, though, on to the west, Reject a little bit slow. Same for Navi, but that's very typical of Navi. If the circle's not coming their way, they take their time. They're finished looting up. So they should be definitely ready to go at any fights that will be coming their way. But talking about
Valdus and DRS.
I was about to say that there's some action happening here. Ooh. You're gonna move down.
Like, I know DRS, they dropped in Yaz 9. They would have been one of the first teams to rotate around that area, but I'm a little bit surprised about how deep Valdus have gone. It's not really what they were doing yesterday in the games. Now, it's okay because they should be able to get the revive because DRS aren't really together enough to put massive pressure on Valdus, but it is quite obvious that they sent that message to the Thailand team and just gone, hey, look, be careful where you're going. Don't go too deep or we will have your number.
Our team now going for their own rotates. Relatively slow, but things are going to start ramping up. That's what we're looking towards. We also saw in the kill feed for a second there, NASA actually getting a little bit too close and burning their wings close to Blacklist International, and that's going to be one of theirs. I believe it was Movement actually went down. That's NASA down to 3. Xavier actually wrapping around really quickly. They went Pachinki, they went close to the coastline up north of the river, and actually they've been just sticking to that coastline the entire time and getting very close to the likes of BTR, which I find interesting from the Xavier. It's not something they typically do, but I like it. It's not that bad, but you've got to be careful to not get too close off BTR because you know that when they start a fight, they fully commit to it typically.
They will fire and there's always a chance you're going to get burned. Geek. Committing
just
to farm.
Geek.
No, come on, it's not like 2000 anymore. Come on. Geek fam fully committing to farm is, I think, a big risk on this kind of circle because, you know, it's a great place to hold on to, but it's a little bit low ground. You've got open field around you. You're a little bit pinched inside there. If the circle goes towards them, I think that's kind of good. But if it goes away, them disengaging, if they do it too early, could really spell trouble for them. The one benefit they have is that QB is actually scouting on the higher ground above to try to give a little bit of information and go, okay, I think a team is here, a team is there. So at least when the next phase does pop up, they'll be more informed to make a better decision.
Well, the more informed you are, the better coming into this. A1, they're going to be entering through the west slowly but surely. You can see they might actually push the position of Zeus very soon. They continuously go now. I mean, they don't have too much information on Zeus currently, so they might just get a little bit too close and be incapable of really moving out. The circle's about to close up. If it goes on top of where the position of DRS currently stand, this is going to be huge for them. But it is also a lot of free real estate to defend, so it might be a little bit much for DRS if their communication is not on point. And it does actually somewhat come that way, but it's going to be towards Mini Milta position, which currently Myth or even I8 should be some of the first few teams to go into Mini Milta.
I gotta say, I do love the fact that nobody was really heading towards Prison Hill in that last phase because it's so tricky to play around. But as we look in, the circle centering towards Lumberyard, DRS are closest to it, so they're going to take advantage of that. Navi are being somewhat punished on this late rotation, but for the time being, they're getting away with it. Tixie is pinched on his own, and NASA are a team that aren't normally super aggressive. For them to slow down the Russian representatives is pretty positive.
Yeah, there's no reason really for Navi to be in any trouble here. Sure, they spotted NASA out. They know the circle shift and how the plane path worked out. And you should be very aware that if there is going to be a path of least resistance, it will be the east of Prison, which is exactly where Navi are moving towards. Though it's not the only team that's going to be doing that. I think that NASA might be following in their footsteps relatively soon. And same maybe for A1. They're showing some intention of wrapping around up to the northern side, down south of Mansion.
I like this.
It seems like there's not only 2 teams thinking of doing that, but potentially 3.
Yeah, I really like that from A1, just recognizing that they'd been a little bit slow in the rotation in the last phase. Zeus had gotten ahead of them. They are getting closer to Nasser because at the end of the day, we're at the stage of the game where it doesn't matter what kind of path you take, there is a much higher chance of you coming across some of your opponents, but it's a matter of making it so it's only one team rather than 2 or 3 teams. I really also like I8's position outside of Milta, just across high above the fields, because they're able to overlook Milta, they're able to overlook Milta Power. They're in a really strong spot.
And Valdus sent it right in the middle. I mean, they are a central type level team, right? They love to play in the center if possible, so that is of course something they're going to be trying and striving to achieve. A1 having a clash versus NASA. We said they were going to pull a somewhat similar rotation, hoping to get
around
6ix9ine, be careful. But they're going to go for the push, and 6ix9ine unfortunately going to be picked on down by Miracle. Now you lose an extra player, and A1
Really
already so spread. You have to move away. You have to remain as the 3-man because you were definitely not ready for that head-on fight versus 2 players of NASA Esports.
Man, they could have taken that fight against Nasser a lot more effectively. I know there's a pinch of a third party by Navi who now hold on to Prison Hill, which is a great spot to hold on to when it's on the very edge of the circle. But A1 will move away. They've gotten 1 kill, traded for one of their players going down, and they're still actually, no, sorry, they're not ahead of Nasser. Well, they're ahead of one of the players anyway, but the other Nasser player has been able to find a spot on the western edge of Prison. Blacklist have gotten close to DRS. I'm a little bit surprised that DRS maybe haven't made a bit more noise so that the likes of Valdus and Blacklist haven't been pushed back, but with that circle centering up, now they're going to have to start to make some noise.
It's not really out of the ordinary, but I just
Fair.
love myself a mini Milter actually finish. They're
Yes,
really fun to
sir.
see, and I think it requires a lot of skill to actually play that position properly. It's not the most common, but if you play from time to time, you know that the terrain can be a little bit tricky and can make you doubt yourself more than once. IA, Valdus already going to send it forward. Valdus going straight for the central compound, so that's a great pickup. But now we're going to see some teams actually crashing on top of each other, and the first one to do so, I believe, might just be Blacklist International pushing their way towards Team Myth.
A1 being targeted by Nas under rotation, and the boogie
Oh, there you
one
go.
goes down. Darth Dante. Oh, looks like he's not going to be able to get the Lucas to say I am your father, and the rest of the A1 are just going to have to try and get the hell away from there.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a double pop though. By the way, don't use your Tesla like that. Not suppose that's how you're supposed to use it, but still, he'll be able to pick it up for himself. And yeah, indeed, they did go for the push. That's what I thought, but Myth, really, they did great earlier versus Fnatic Zombies, leaving the fight come their way, and they're doing something very similar versus Blacklist International this time around, but they did so much damage to the team, and they're not committing. This was their one opportunity to really capitalize on the damage they did in the first place, but now Blacklist are back as a 4-man, and now it's a 4v2, and they are fully unprepared to take that fight once again, because Blacklist, they have learned from that mistake, and they are ready to take that fight, trying to go for the shot through the smoke, trying to go for the wrap around, but unfortunately, Jiro was on a little bit of the off angle, and he had no idea what was happening. And now it's only Ramsey up in a 1v4, and there is no way in hell that he's going to be able to win that one.
Blacklist need to be aggressive because it's only one building as a protection. Ramsey is doing his best to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge his way around the players of Blacklist, but at the end of the day, the pressure is going to be too much to handle. All 4 players of Blacklist have stopped and slowed down. How they let that happen? That shouldn't be the case. However, it also signifies, and once again, shows really how passive Blacklist are, and they're just happy to be in the circle, so to speak. It's like they don't really want to control it.
I do want to give a lot of respect to Ramsey though, just definitely deserved. He was shooting from windows, doors, and another window, and he was really feeling like multiple teams at once, but though Zuxi is going to be solo and without a team this time, and Duello will be up and still trying to survive for the Japanese representative. We'll see how he can make it work out. The rest of the team is not letting me back him up, and that's the end of the road for Bigatron Red Aliens, as that's 2 kills going to reject, and they are still in a pretty strong position actually. They got a good entry point through the South Imperium. That's looking good.
Did you see that peak for Duello?
Oh, it was so good.
Lead,
Yes.
that lead was absolutely beautiful. So good from Reject, and BTR shut down once again. Now, Yala committed to Mini Milta in the last phase, and they've kind of benefited from that, but not before DS Sporta, with the new crate weapon in his hands, take out Bandar.
I think that's the first time I've seen it actually get playing competitive. I haven't seen the kill feed, so it was great to see it played a little bit more, see if it'll become meta as more and more players get used to it. Though, Arsetting, got to be careful, got to get inside of Mini Milta, otherwise you're going to be showing your backs and your sides over to Zeus, and you do not want that to happen because Zeus are very opportunistic in situations like that. With the circle about to go down, Valdus dead center, you know they should be into the circle, and that is indeed going to be the case, but another slope finish here, Imperium. This is going to be another tricky one to deal with if you're not fully prepared.
Yeah, this is incredibly difficult. You are better off being favored on the low ground, in my opinion, in this situation, but it's going to be easier said than done because of the amount of teams that committed towards that Mini Milta era. You have Valdus in this circle, you have Myth and Blacklist, but then outside you have I8, you have Xavier, Yala, DS, Reject, and Zeus. So all of them are going to be fighting for any kind of angle on the southern side of this circle.
Now, Matic just a little bit. Oh, that's a great spray. Lays him down by Tixie. Now it's down to 3. DRS, got to be careful. Don't allow that push to happen. But now Tixi in nade range. You could try and chuck her through. Feel a presence in direction of DRS from the POW. That's looked like a good one behind the tree. Had a good idea. Unfortunately for him, nobody was really hiding behind that tree, though. Zeus and also Blacklist International going to be having their own fights. A lot of teams falling on top of each another. But yeah, there you go. Zeus indeed going for the breach onto Blacklist International's compound. The entire team is now going to be joining up. Dion makes it inside and scathed, but that's the end. That's Blacklist International, unfortunately, caught out and naded to their doom.
If you want a lesson, Blacklist, on how to push a compound, a building, there you go. That's your prime example. I'm sorry, but that's what they should have done against Myth earlier on, and they would have had an extra building. But Navi pushing on to DRS.
Yeah, Navi, they got the high ground position. Whoa, 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 what a spray from Nima. That was disgusting. That was absolutely illegal, but DRS now juggling even more. Boro's got, especially that off angle to the bottom side. Navi still got 2. That's going to be Tixi and Meku. Do you push this or do you leave? Seem like they're trying to push it, but unfortunately there are so many teams that are alerted of this fight that's currently unfolding that there is such a hard fight to really take, but Tixi gets it done. He takes so many players down with his own teammates. But you got to be careful. Kitsune still giving the information. One bullet, that is all you need. And Nima does get popped down at the very end. That is it for DRS. And Navi will be able to remain alive, but Kitsune will not go any further.
A1 actually was a benefit to Tixi in that situation, knocking down Mr. Boro. Now Zeus, who took out Blacklist International inside this building, are going to get breached by Reject. And that's what I was talking about with the East and the southeast area of this circle. Teams are fighting for Reject, covering on the sidelines. Icy is knocked down, but Zeus do have the cover where they can't play around these buildings.
We talked about the macro rotation in Japan, how strong they are. They were straight up down south and understood how hard that rotation was to pull off in the first place. Cross over the road, breach compounds. They went straight up to the northeast and found another compound that was relatively strong inside the circle, and they went for that fight instead. I love that play from Reject. We got to see if they can push it to 11. Though, still going to get involved in some way, shape, or form, especially it's going to be GeekFam and A1 taking their very own fights. But things are getting dicey as we see the circle shift again, and it is straight on top of the compound where Zeus and Reject currently stand.
I actually think that's a better circle shift though, because it's not as kind of hilly. It's a little bit flatter with still a good few rocks and trees to play around. On a side note, I8 were taken out by the Xavier. Unfortunately, it was bad pathing by I8 trying to play for the late game. They didn't really push onto Valdus, and Valdus are now closer to the circle in which they can third party this Zeus and Reject fight.
To touch on what you said, the terrain sure maybe is a little bit better for the teams to deal with, but there's very little teams in there. There's currently only 3, and one of those is actually the last remaining player of NASA that's going to be Miracle. And the last player, actually, Navi gets picked away. A1 and Navi go out back-to-back. Now, only 7 teams remain, but this is going to be a really hard one to pull off. Powerful is still up and ready to go for Yana Esports. He's trying to get involved a little bit into the kill feed, but can't really make the most out of it. Miracle, he's going to be uncontested up northwest. He might be able to just steal a top 3 literally out of nowhere.
Could even take the chicken dinner away and how they pick each other up. Frankie, he's on his own. Lamborghini was knocked down.
Yeah, no clutch play for you, my friend. Hopefully Frankie can get him back up. Powerful got, unfortunately, denied that position and cross over the road. 2 angles by GeekFam, making it so hard for Frankie to really play, but there you go. Frankie gets it done. Pushing now all of his focus over onto Damrude. The 1-on-1 currently happening between GeekFam and also Xavier. Frankie's taking some blue zone tick damage, making that fight potentially way easier for Damrude. He's just not interested. He wants to aim for the win. He has the eyes on the prize, and he knows that that fight would not help him out tremendously. While extra positioning points, every time you stay alive, you get so many more positioning points, which is so worthwhile. Now Reject, they're going to go for the fight. Zeus, they pull the trigger. They're going to try and go for their own engage. It's a 2v3 currently, not in favor of Zeus whatsoever. But Reject are struggling. They have no information of what's happening inside the smokes. Where are the enemies? They have literally no clue. But Reject still actually got one onto the other side. There you go. Now it's a 3-man.
Bingo.
And they get himself a knock onto Godless.
Valdus.
Third party from Concept. You're going to ruin it. That looks like a great nade actually onto Zeus. It does put him down to 50%. Reject still have yet to confirm the kill onto Godless, so that's still some information potentially being fed over to Zeus's last remaining player. The nade does miss for Concept. How close is this fight right now? But he's got to keep the fight going.
Joel doesn't know where that nade went from. He's now being pushed in. Reject Scarlet gonna get the better of Joel, and Zeus goes down. Zeus are out of here.
Yep, see you later, Zeus. Thank you for coming around. That's going to be a 4th place for them. But Valdus still concept. He can still easily nade that one up. And the rest of his team is focused currently on the win. But Miracle, we said it, he could snatch away a third place purely by remaining passive after that very unfortunate rubber event fight with A1 and Navi on the northern side next to Prison. Working fine. Great molly. Lapis will actually get knocked down because of it. Miracle, do you want to show yourself now, or do you want to wait for Reject and Valdus to spot each other out, take the fight, and then try and get the most out of it? I think that would be the best option for him, Imperium.
He would have a chance if it wasn't full squad and full squad against one player. That's the biggest thing that's hurting him right now, and I think he realizes that, which is why he's chucked out smokes to try and somewhat take vision away. But the fact that smokes are being thrown up there, both Reject and Valdus will know that there's a player there.
Definitely going to know that something's potentially wrong. And he was able to actually crawl inside the circle, so he doesn't have to move anymore. He's good. He's golden. Now he has to do is wait. If a team tries to fight... Okay, you're running. You're making a lot of noise. I'm scared that Reject maybe heard that. I think it might be a little bit too far away, but still, that is a big audio cue that he might have just given over to his enemies.
Great from
4v3 v1. Yeah.
As it pushes Reject closer to Valdus.
You want to go for nades? Oh man, you're feeling real risky on this one. That's a good nade actually. Nice little bit of tick damage down to both Sarah and Divine. Things are definitely slowing down, but there's so many trees in this kind of circle. We don't usually see this many. So if you just run for a few seconds, you'll easily find some coverage. And that could help out actually Miracle to play hide and seek a little bit further.
And I know that Reject, it's too late for them to push up the hill towards Miracle, so they have to go towards Valdus.
Oh man, that push, I mean, I get it, but you're showing your back over to Valdus too. That is definitely going to be haunting you. They do get rid of Miracle, and now they create all the breathing spaces they need on the northern side, but they see a knock on Valdus. This is time for them to strike. They pull the trigger right here, right now, as they will be taking home a 4v2. Drennan knocked down as a 4v1. Divine, can you make the unthinkable thinkable? He gets a knock, but that's literally all he gets.